Hi, everybody. Hi, it's Janet Attwood. I'm so happy that you're joining us today. And I thought I'd start with introducing myself. I'm a New York Times bestselling author of The Passion Test and Your Hidden Riches. And I've trained over, God, how many? About 4,500 Passion Test facilitators in more than 65 countries. I just came back from China and Japan, and it's booming there. And the Passion Test programs are all about inspiring transformation through love. And right now, the Passion Test is the #1 tool being used worldwide to really help people discover passion and connect with purpose. And, I was really excited about doing this webinar tonight because nobody really, people talk about passion as this and passion as that, but nobody really knows how to get people to that place where they're actually living their passions full out, monetizing their passions, being able to hit it out of the ballpark and really live their passionate life so full out that they're sharing their gifts with the world. And very few people know that. And it's so, I don't know, to me, it's kind of hokey because it's a lot of information, but not really delivering the goods. So tonight I wanted to demonstrate the first exercise in the Passion Test. And I'm going to take my buddy Natasha through what's called the elimination process so she can show you how to discover your #1 passion. And before I do that, I thought, since people are entering the room, I thought I'd share with you my story. Everybody always says, have you always been passionate, Janet? and so I want to just quickly share my story of how the Passion Test came to be. So let's see. Where do I want to begin? I've only told this story a million times. And every time I tell you, it's so interesting because I always think, should I begin at the book or should I begin at the office? So, okay, so I'm going to begin at the office. And my #1 question I always ask people is, have you ever been in a job that you hated, you failed at miserably, you weren't making any money, you just didn't love what you do, you just thought, God, there has to be more for me than this? I'm sure you're one of those, and that's probably why you're here tonight, because you're in a job that you hate. You can't stand Monday morning. You think, is life really about all of this? Because I know many of you are thinking that, because that's where I was at until all of a sudden I got clear on my passions. Anyway, before I was in this job that I was failing at miserably, I was actually doing something that I really loved, and it was really cool. I was teaching transcendental meditation. I love meditation. I meditate twice a day, and I've been meditating over 50 years twice a day because I just love to meditate. And I was working in the local meditation center in Palo Alto, California, ran the TM Center, really, really super fun. And there was only one downside to the job, and that was that in those days, now this is a long time ago, this is like over 25 years ago. In those days, you didn't get paid a lot of money for teaching meditation, but I loved it so much, and it was just so thrilling to me to share this knowledge with people that I decided, okay, let's see, I don't have enough money for an apartment, so I will live in the meditation center, which did not have a shower, and I'll sleep on the floor. And, sooner or later, I'll get enough money from teaching people how to meditate to get myself a nice little apartment. But that day was not coming. And the other thing that was happening was, every day when I wanted to take a shower, I had to sneak across the street, jump over a fence, and sneak into the local apartment building's pool showers and take a shower, and then sneak back across the street, jump over a fence, and I'd walk into the meditation center and I'd start giving my lectures. And the funny thing about it was, I didn't really mind, but these guys that were coming to my lectures all the time, they were coming in Jaguars and gosh, they had Porsches, Mercedes, and remember Cadillacs. And someone snitched on me and told them, did you know that Janet gets up in the morning and sneaks over into the local apartment buildings and takes a shower in their pool shower? And they started talking among themselves, and they thought, you know what? Why don't we ask her to come to work for us? They were all disk drive recruiters. They recruited disk drive engineers in Silicon Valley, which was the next city over in San Jose. And they thought, she'd probably be really good. She loves to talk. She's really personable. She loves people. And so they gave me a call one day and they said, hey, Janet, we've got the perfect job for you. And they started telling me about it, and I'm kind of listening and doing something else. And then they said, and Janet, you know what? You'll make millions of dollars. And they also told me I'd be a recruiter, and I'd work in an office with 13 other people and all this other stuff. But the only thing I heard was ka-ching, ka-ching, millions of dollars. And I heard that because I thought, oh my God, I'd be able to have my own shower. How cool would that be? And I'd my own apartment. That would be novel. And I'd get more than a few dresses because I was really living on a shoestring. And so I went to this job, and the minute I walked in, I knew it was not the right place because I'm really into color, creativity. I'm a right brain creative. I'm not left brain that much. I just really love the creative arts. And I walk into this office, the walls are brown, the floor is brown. There's 13 desks, they're all brown. The phones are brown. I mean, all of my senses were just shattered immediately. And I thought, oh no. And then the office manager comes to me and says, here's your first job order to get a disk drive engineer. And I said, thank you. And so I take out the piece of paper and I'm reading it. And it was like, I might as well have put it upside down because it was so technical that I really couldn't understand it. And I started to freak out immediately because I knew, I'm in the wrong place. What did I do? Why am I here? And they had a bell that they would ring every day in this 13-person office. Every time one of the engineers got a job every time one of the recruiters got a job for an engineer, they would run up to the front of the class, they would ring this bell, and everybody would clap. And this dang bell rang every day for everyone but me. And after a while, everybody knew wrong person. And these were all my friends, which felt terrible. And they were also people that came to my lectures, which felt even more terrible. So ego shattered. And I remember one day after about a month of just walking in every day and not being able to do anything and just feeling like a complete failure and an idiot. And I went outside and I sat in my little rusty Toyota and I put my head on my cracked dashboard and I looked up through the window and I noticed that the sun was shining. It was a beautiful blue sky day. And I thought, oh my God, I've been like so obsessed by this job that I am so unhappy. I didn't even notice that it's beautiful outside. This is like a first in a month. And I just sat there and I remembered that my mom always said, Janny, you're here for greatness. That's what she called me. She called me her little angel. And she said, you are here for greatness. You're gonna do something great someday. And I just kept hearing her voice and I just, put my head on that dashboard and I thought, what the hell? What is my greatness? What can I do? And that night I drove to the local meditation center as I always did after work. And I sat down to meditate and I looked up and on the wall, there was a sign that said, yes to success seminar in San Francisco. And I'd never taken any type of seminar ever. But when I looked at that sign, I just thought, you know what? That's a sign. I'm supposed to do that. And so I did what none of you would ever do. I called in to work very sick. I lied. I said, I'm so sick. I can't come into work. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Goodbye. Click. And then I got in my little Toyota. I sang all the way to San Francisco. I just had this really great feeling. I just knew something different was going to happen. I walk into this seminar. I sit down in the front row, and this woman comes on, and she is so happy, and she's so excited, and she looks good, and she's just, filled with that great energy because she's loving what she's doing. And she starts talking about, how to live a passionate life and why it's important to, be in your integrity, doing the things you love. And as she's talking, I can see all of us in the room. We're just like, yeah, yeah. And as she's talking, then all of a sudden I just go, oh my God, this is it. I want to do what she's doing. And I just really got this big hit. I want to do what she's doing. But darn, I don't know what she's doing. I don't even know anything about this. And I just thought, well, sometime during the seminar, before it ends, I'm going to ask her, can I study with her? Can I stalk her? Can I something, with her? And then she went on to talk about a survey that had been given to the 100 most successful people in the United States. And what the survey found was that all these people, all the 100, were living what they considered to be their number one passion. And when she said that, I was like, oh my God, if I could figure out what my passions are, then I could be like all those 100 other incredibly successful people. And she started talking about dressing for success. I mean, really, I asked her years later, remember that survey you told me about? She goes, nope. So don't tell me what that was. But when she said about that survey, I just like froze. I was just like, okay, that's it. How do I figure this out? What do I need to do? And that was actually the birth of how the passion test came to be. Really, that was the very beginning of it. Anyway, during the seminar, she's talking and I'm just getting more pumped and just like, I know I'm supposed to do this. I know. And when can I ask her? And the break came and went. And I was starting to get a little nervous because the seminar was getting over. And then she says to everybody, would anyone like to take me to the airport? And I am like, yeah. And she looks at me and she goes, well, okay, kind of like, uh-oh. And so I drove her to the airport and I'm waiting for that perfect moment. We all know, you want to not do it until it's the perfect moment. You don't want to say what's so important. And that moment was not coming. And I'm like getting more worried again. And my knee is shaking. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen when we get to the airport? And we're standing there waiting for a plane. And finally, she turns to me and she says, so what's your dream? And I said, oh my God, I'm so glad you asked me, because if you don't hire me, you better move over because I'm going to be your next competition. And she just looks at me like, what did you just say? And right then they called her plane. And she gave me, a sweet little hug and walked off. And I sat there and I was like, are you kidding me? Did I just do that? Oh my God, I just messed up the most important moment of my life. And I'm just so down and heartbroken. And I get in my little Toyota and I'm driving to the meditation center. And I'm just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I thought, no, I know I'm supposed to do this. I know I'm supposed to do this. Somehow, God, what can I do? What can I do? And then I thought, I know what I'm going to do. She's going on her tour and she's going to Washington and Iowa. And she was talking about it. She's going to Boston and all these different places. And she's going on her tour in just like a few weeks. I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I don't know how, because I'm minus money right now, but I'm going to get tickets. I'm going to fly to every one of her seminars. And this is a true story, you guys. This shows how nutty I am. And I'm going to go walk into the seminar, sit down in the front row, and I'm going to keep going to every seminar until she finally takes me seriously and she hires me. And this is my plan. And so when I arrive at the meditation center, I'm sitting down and a friend is next to me and she looks over at me and she says, hey, Janet, what's new? And I said, are you kidding me? And then I tell her my story. I said, are you kidding me? What's new? I said, oh my God, I just came from the seminar. I'm like so on fire. I know what I want to do. I'm going to follow her all over the United States. The only problem is I'm broke. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but you know what? I know I'm supposed to do it. It's my passion. And then we meditated and she left and I left. And then the next night, there I am again, sitting there and I'm meditating. And all of a sudden I feel paper falling all over my head. And I looked up and there is that woman, my friend, and she's dropping. And this really was just one of the best moments of my life, $100 bills all over my head. And she said, "Merry Christmas, Janet. Go live your dream." And of course, I took her money and I bought my tickets and I flew to Boston and I sat down in the front row. And when this woman comes on, and by the way, her name is Deborah Poneman from Yes to Success, and she's still burning it up all over the world, and now my very best friend. Anyway, when Deborah comes on, she's kind of like scoping the room, and all of a sudden she's like, "Didn't I meet you in San Francisco?" And I'm like, yeah, you did. And I didn't say anything. And she leaves and I leave, and she goes to Washington, D.C. I go to Washington, D.C. I walk in, I sit down in the front row, and she walks, she's looking around and like, what? She's like trying to figure out, what are you doing? And this just kept happening. She went to Iowa. I went to Iowa. I'm in the front row. And finally, I don't know how many seminars later, and this was right in a row every weekend. There I am at her seminar in the front row, and finally in Los Angeles, and thank God, because I was running out of money, she walks in, she's looking around for me, and she goes, "All right, already, you're hired." And that's how I began my career. And it started from just really being so clear about, what is it that I'm passionate about? And that's what I want to share with you all tonight, because passion is so important. Only 29% of people worldwide are passionate about what they're doing. And that leaves about 71%. And I actually think in third world countries, I just came back as well from India and other countries, that, it's even a higher percentage, but at least 71 to 80% of the world are not passionate about what they do. What that means is they wake up every morning not happy, not fulfilled, not passionate. And, I wish I could see all of you. And because I'd ask you, I'd say, come on, raise your hand and tell me, do you see that the world is shaking right now? Do you see that we're really separate, that we're disconnected? I mean, I can't remember a darker time. And, I like to say, imagine if all of us here knew what we were most passionate about, knew beyond a doubt what we were passionate about. And we were out there in the world sharing our passion with those we love, with all our friends, with people that we worked with. What do you think our world would be like? I mean, it would be a very cool world, wouldn't it? I mean, it would just, it would not be this world. We'd be the world where, we're all happy. We're all living our purpose. We're all sharing our gifts. And, that's not how it is. And, this is why I do what I do. I love to share with people. And that's what I'm going to be doing in a minute with Natasha, is sharing, how do you get clear? And one of the things that we say in the passion test is, when you're clear, what you choose to have show up in your life will, but only to the extent that you're clear. Now, I was lucky, I got to have this really instant download in Deborah's program, but that's not, most of us aren't, we don't have moments like that. And since then, with the passion test, because in the passion test, we have people come up with their top 5 passions, and we share with them the science and the system. And a system is save yourself time, energy, and money, of how do you really live those passions full out so that you can monetize your passions. So with the passion test, and by the way, what is the passion test? Well, the passion test, it's one exercise after the other, after the other, after the other, that gets you so crystal clear that when you close your eyes, you can actually see the world you choose to create. And why that's important is because passion is within us. It's not, it's not out here. Everything is inside of us. And so when you get so crystal clear from within, it's like you've created your Monet or your Renoir from within. And that's when the people, the places, and the things start to show up. And I remember giving Jack Canfield, who's the phenomenally successful Chicken Soup for the Soul author. And where were we? We were in Vancouver at T. Harv Ekker's seminar. We were both presenting there. And afterwards, I said, hey, Jack, I'd like to give you the passion test. And he said, oh, you crazy redhead. I'm on my way to the airport. And I said, no problem. I'll give you the passion test in the cab. No problem at all. And when I did, it was really a mind blower for him because, Jack was really clear. As a matter of fact, he walked around with a pen and a pad of paper all the time. And when he saw something that he was passionate about, he would write it down because he knew the value of being clear. But with the passion test, after taking it with me on the way to the airport and at the airport, he realized that his number one passion was nowhere to be found and really needed to be upgraded. That, he had a lot of clarity, but his number one passion was spending quality time with his wife and daughter. And he realized he could do way more than that. And when he had that realization, he said it actually changed the way he lived his life. So in the passion test, one of the things before I have Natasha come on and share with her passions is that I like to say it's not the how, it's the what. And this is really important for all of you because when I walk Natasha through, I want you to be able to really get clear on all of this so that you can leave this little webinar and you can take the passion test with yourself or with a friend. And so when I say it's not the how, it means the how is God's job. So maybe you write down a passion when my life is ideal. That's how we have everyone start the passion test. This little sentence, when my life is ideal. Maybe you write down, I'm an Olympic skier. Well, your job is not to know how it's going to come about. Your job, the how is, how am I going to learn? Who's going to teach me? Who's going to be my mentor? How am I going to get known in the world? How am I going to arrive at the point where I'm standing on the podium getting a gold medal? No, in the passion test, we say it's the what. The what is, what do I love? What do I care about? What am I most passionate about? What would get me out of bed in the morning? And in the passion test, I like to say your passions, what you love in God's will for you is one and the same. That's your passions. Your passions aren't even personal. And I was talking about this the other day on an interview. And the person who was interviewing me said, what does that mean? And I said, well, what it means is that each of us are part and parcel of what science calls a unified field. And in this unified field, we all have a role to play. It's like a puzzle, and we each have a puzzle, and we are each part of that puzzle and have our own particular role to play. And our job is to get crystal clear on what is that role? What is my gift that I am here to give to the world? So when I gave Natasha the passion test, I asked her to think about the following areas of her life that are important so she could figure out, what are her gifts to the world? And I want you guys to write these areas down. The areas that I had her think about before she wrote her passions were fun, service, fun. I always say if it's not fun, I don't want to play. Service, philanthropy, giving. What do you do that you aren't getting paid for, but you want? How do you want to support other people? education, do you study? What do you want to study? I want to be studying every single day. I want to be learning everything every single day. Spirituality. I told you I've been meditating for over 50 years, doing transcendental meditation. Your environment, where do you live? My house feels, when you walk into it, like it feels almost like a temple. And you can see I have all these statues, and I have these plants all everywhere. I have probably over 50 plants. How do you want to feel when you walk into your house? Is it at the ocean? Is it, in the mountains? So you want to think about this. You want to get clear, because as I said before, clarity is the thing. And when you get really super clear, that's when you become what we call a passionate magnet, where synchronicity starts to draw the people, the places, and things to you, so that you can live a passionate life. So the other areas that I had Natasha think about were career, relationship, and health. And I had her write at the top of her page, as I said before, when my life is ideal, I am. And then she took about 10 minutes. I only gave her 10 minutes. I didn't want her to think too much. And she wrote down her passions. And so what I want to do tonight is I want to take all of you through watching me take Natasha through through this passion test. So Natasha, are you here? There you are, my love. And so I'm going to share my screen. Oops, I almost, by the way, I am not techie, as I told you before. I probably should quit saying that, because your word is your wand. That's probably something that's getting in my way. I want to share my screen with all of you. Share screen. And bring up her passions. And what I'm going to do, and Natasha, how does that look? Is that good?
Scroll up a bit.
Okay, so here we are right there.
Yeah, and then you'll have to scroll down.
All right. So again, the areas that I had her thinking about were fun. My passion for fun is, when my life is ideal, I'm having fun with everything I do. I had her think about service, philanthropy, education, spirituality, environment, where she's living, career, relationship, and health. And this is what she came up with. So Natasha, you want to read these to everyone, and I'll scroll as you're reading them.
All right. So I put down, when my life is ideal, I am constantly enjoying my independence. I am making more than enough money to feel comfortable. I have a very luxurious life. I am being surrounded by my supportive friends. When my life is ideal, I will be helping people as a part of my day-to-day life. I will have a healthy bond with my family. I will be constantly having fun. I'll be feeling calm and balanced, and I'll be feeling fulfilled with what I'm doing in life, and I'll be relaxed about my position in the world.
So tonight, what I'm doing with all of you is I'm going to take her through and show you just the very first step. And by the way, in the passion test, we say it's the only test you'll never fail. And it's not just this little test. It's actually a major lifestyle change. Because if I had more time with all of you, I'd be taking you not only through the elimination process. And in this elimination process, what I'm going to do is take Natasha through her top passions, so you guys can can clearly see how you can do this for yourself. But when you actually take the passion test with me in my certification program, I walk everybody through, and I'll take you through your top 5 passions. And the reason for that is because we worked with these neuroscientists from the University of Pennsylvania that found that the mind can only contain 5 to 7 pieces of information at any given time. And any more than that, it's overloaded. How many of you feel like, oh my God, my life is constantly on overload? Because I know I did. And so in the passion test, what we do is we eliminate those other passions that are not your top 5, so that you can keep your attention on those top 5. And what you put your attention on grows stronger in your life. And to the extent that you're clear, What you choose to have show up in your life will, but only to the extent that you're clear. And what we say in the passion test is that clarity is power. So I'm going to take her through. I'm going to show you how to come up with your number one passion. But again, this is the easiest, the most simple part of the passion test. When you're with me, I would also, in our whole passion test certification program, which I'll tell you about and send you a link to later on, I would take you also through what's called scoring, because once we figure out what are your top 5 passions, then we would want to score them and see where you are. And then we share with you why we do that. And it's absolutely probably not the answer you think it is. So we give you more information based on your experience in the program. Then on top of that, I share the secret to living a passionate life so that you know how to continue to live a passionate life and be able to monetize your passions. Because, how many of you came here tonight because, you're in that job that you hate. You can't stand Monday morning. You don't like any of the week because you're really bored. You don't love what you do. You think your life is a waste. And you don't know how to live your passions, the things that you really love, and make a living doing that. So we spend a lot of time on that. We also spend a lot of time with what's called markers. Markers are what we call guideposts or signposts. They're evidence that you're living your passion full out. So this is also what you learn when you're with me. And on top of that, then I go deeply into a lot of self-love practices, because the one thing that I found, and I created a whole program called Mastery of Self-Love after teaching the passion test for, 15, 20 years, was that I found that aside from limiting beliefs, the other thing was, and this is one big gigantic limiting belief, is I hate myself. I can't stand what I can't stand who I am. I'm not smart enough, good enough, etc. enough. So we spend a lot of time undoing everyone's limiting beliefs and sharing lots of different self-love practices so that you have the tools you need to go out into the world with the things that you love, with that clarity, and with the esteem that you need to say, hey, this is what I stand for. This is what I care about. This is what matters to me. And then there's a lot of other tools that we share with you to really make sure that you really can understand, how do you really hold on to these passions? What do you do when they change? And how are you able to move on a dime? Because life is all about being flexible and staying open. Because when you're open, one of the things that we say in the passion test, the gifts are always there. They're always coming to you. But when you're contracted, you can't see them. So we go into this very deeply and share a whole process on staying open and many other things. And as I said, tonight's just about helping you to go through this elimination process. In this process, I'm going to just start by asking Natasha, which feels better? And I'm going to go, which feels better, constantly enjoying your independence or making more than enough money to feel comfortable? So Natasha, we haven't done this yet, so this is going to be really fun for us. I'm going to move this up a little. And so let's go ahead. Which feels better, constantly enjoying your independence or making more than enough money to feel comfortable?
The second one.
So Natasha said number 2. And by the way, in the passion test, we always go down. We never go back up. So remember that. All right, Natasha, which feels better, making more than enough money to feel comfortable or have a luxurious life?
Having a very luxurious life.
Okay, so you would think I'd go, which feels better, having a luxurious life or constantly enjoying my independence? But remember, I said you only go down from this elimination. That's already been eliminated. So I say, which feels better, having a very luxurious life or being surrounded by supportive friends?
Having a very luxurious life.
And by the way, I'm looking at these and I'm already seeing how I could upgrade how she wrote these, because there's an actual science to writing your passions. And this is another thing that we share with you. We spend some time on this when you come to our certification program, but we're going to go ahead with what you've done tonight. So which feels better, having a very luxurious life or being surrounded by supportive friends? I think you said luxurious life. Am I right? Okay, so now we go 3 to 5. Which feels better, having a very luxurious life or helping people as part of your day-to-day life?
Having a very luxurious life.
Which feels better, having a very luxurious life or having a healthy bond with your family?
Having a very luxurious life.
Okay, which feels better? And you know what I want you to do? I'm going to set you up here. I want you to hesitate 2 times on one of these, okay? Because I want you all to see that there is a number of questions here that I would ask if she hesitates. So, Natasha, which feels better, having a very luxurious life or constantly having fun?
This one is actually tough.
Say that again.
I said this one is actually tough. Like,
Okay. So
I can't choose.
So then I go to question 2, because in the passion test, we have 3 questions that we ask. And the first one is, and as you heard, which feels better? And I'd go from, 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 and et cetera, like we've just done. When someone hesitates, then we have a second question, which is, if you could have a very luxurious life, but never constantly have fun, or if you could constantly have fun, but never have a very luxurious life, which feels better?
This second option.
Constantly having fun? Okay. So, Natasha, which feels better, constantly having fun or feeling calm and balanced?
Constantly having fun.
Which feels better, constantly having fun or fulfilled by what you're doing in life? So she's hesitating. So again, I would ask that question. Natasha, if you could constantly have fun, but never be fulfilled by what you're doing in life, or if you could be fulfilled by what you're doing in life, but never constantly have fun, which feels better?
The
Oh,
first option.
Constantly having fun? All right.
No, being fulfilled. It feels
Oh,
better.
this one. Okay, so fulfilled. So she said number 9. So which feels better, fulfilled by what you're doing in life or relaxed about your position in the world?
I would say feeling fulfilled.
So she said fulfilled. So what I would do, this is her number 1 passion, being fulfilled by what she's doing in her life. And I really like the way you wrote that, because what that does is it leaves it wide open. It doesn't really matter what you're doing. If you're fulfilled, you're fulfilled. Am I right? Isn't that good? And then we just, say, okay, here's Natasha's number 1 passion. We would set that aside, and that one's done. And then what we do is we would start again from the first one, going all the way down and finding which is her second, which is her third, which is her fourth, which is her fifth. And this is basically how we do the elimination process, which, as I said, it's absolutely not rocket science, but I know a lot of you are going to get off this webinar after watching me do it, and you're going to go, how did she do that? And I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. Hold on just a minute. Let me stop this share. All right. How did she do that? How did Janet do that? And this is what we teach you in the certification program. And again, we'll have you come up with your top 5 passions and spend a lot of time doing this. But it's basically, you can find your number 1. Just start by the first question, which feels better? And you just, and you just go from 1 to 2. And just one little thing. When you're taking someone through the passion test, it's a lot easier for the person taking it. to really own what it is, because I know when I have my list of passions and I'm taking myself through the passion test, I can't do it. I honestly can't do it. I can't go as deep as if someone's making me accountable. They can see my face, they can see my eyes, they can see what's going on with me. And they're like, I don't think so. Are you, and just by their eyes, they're saying, keeping me accountable. And so just know that, if you go back to your, room and you're sitting there all by yourself tonight, and you're on your desktop and trying to do this, you'll probably notice that it's a little tricky when you're doing it all by yourself, even though it looks like, oh my God, is this all it is? So I wanted to talk to all of you, though, about why is it right now in the world? Why more than ever before in the world is it important for all of us to get aligned with our passions? And Natasha, I want to thank you, by the way. Come back here. I thank you for, coming on tonight and, being so open and sharing your list of passions in the world. And I also wanted to share with you something that's very cool, is that Natasha happens to be one of my good friend's daughters. And I really love this family. And I'd really like to support Natasha in living her passionate life. But if I don't know what she's passionate about, how can I do that? How can I support her? And think about how, that seemed very simplistic. I know for me it did, when I first started doing it for myself, I thought, can this really do it? But think about when you're with your children and how disconnected many relationships with kids are these days, because the iPhone it becomes their greatest love. And think about how different, and I know your mom has done this with you. Is your mom taking you through the passion test? Because I know she has, right?
Yeah,
And did she sit you down at a table and she say, honey, let me help you live your passions? I really want to find out what's important to you.
kind of, yeah.
And yeah, well, what I know about you and Aram is that you guys are really tight.
We are.
And one thing that creates a bond between parents and their kids are being able to say, instead of, hey, I really want you to become a doctor. I want you to become a lawyer. I want you to become what I want you to become. So I won't be afraid that you will land on the street and then my life will be ruined because you're not successful. A lot of us have parents like that. And what would it be like if with not just your kids, but your husband, your wife, your friends, you sat down with them and you said, I really want to take you through the passion test. I want to find out what you care about the most so I can support you in living your passions. And notice how quickly, just knowing what your 10 passions are, I now know you better than almost anyone. Think about it, because what you wrote down were the 10 most important things to you. So for all of you, if you really want to get close to people and you want to support them and people that you love and care about the most, this process is such a no-brainer. It's so great for that. And it really does. You can put this aside with, the kids can put this aside, because taking the passion test and the whole process, as I said, going through scoring, going through markers, sharing with them how to live a passionate life, and the formula for a passionate life, all of these different tools that we share, it really just sets them up. And I wish, and Natasha, aren't you glad that you have learned this? How, you told me you're 28, right?
I'm 26. Close.
26. Yeah. So, aren't you glad you already have a tool for being clear and knowing what you care about? And how has it affected your life since your mom gave you the passion test? I've not asked you that question.
Um, that's an interesting one because I'm thinking about she started doing it whenever I was fairly young, actually. I think I was like 15 when she gave me, like, she was like, no, let's actually figure out like what you're passionate about. And kind of going through the motions of high school back then. I really wanted, in my head, I like was like, I want to be a neurosurgeon. And it was actually the passion test that was like, I was like, I actually hate anatomy class. Hold on. And I want to become a doctor. Like, this is not going to work out. That's not how life works. And she's like, well, why do you want to do it? And I was like, well, I want to do this and I want to do that. So then we went through the passion test, and it's like, okay, well, maybe you can, you have life to figure out, but it seems like the reasons you want to be a doctor, a neurosurgeon, can be applied to like any field in the world. You don't need to be a doctor. And I was like, oh, that's a big one. And so kind of getting deeper, working with her. Now I work for her, have been for quite a bit, which is really fulfilling because she also helps a lot of Muslim women. So it's very fulfilling to me to work in that. Plus, if you didn't notice, I'm really into like luxurious lives, and I live in a high rise now. Just because I remember telling my mom, I'm like, I want to live in a high rise. I want my downtown views. I want to be a city girl. That's luxury to me. And she's like, okay, and it wouldn't be possible, like, especially at this age, to kind of do what I do, if I wasn't clear. I probably would still be trying to like hit on some walls and being like, maybe this will work out, maybe this will work out, or be in thousands of dollars of debt because of college, because I decided to go on a path that wasn't my passion.
So for all of you, and thank you for that. And I know I kind of put you on the spot because I didn't tell you I was going to have you share that. But thank you for being so straight and open and just so jumping right in and being so courageous. I just love that about you. And wouldn't you agree, though, with me that it really did bond you and Aram together, because you now can support each other in the things that you both care about. And what I see in the world, and I've really noticed it's a lot in the last 10 years since, this has become so mainstay, especially, gosh, in China, at every table at dinner, everybody is looking at this instead of communicating clearly to each other, that helping someone to really fulfill the things that they love really has an impact on their relationship with everyone when they're doing that. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, especially I think of, even going younger would be my little sister, and now she's kind of in that same transition phase. And it's like, at this age, usually you always hear, parents are fighting, they're butting heads with the kid, and it's like, oh my God, it's hell. But it's like, instead, it's like we have this really loving bond because we're very clear, and we know, what our passions are, and, want to support each other through those, passions as they change, as we evolve too. So it's really fun.
Oh, well, go ahead.
Kumbaya, the three of us.
Say that again.
I said we're very kumbaya, the three of us, with it.
Isn't that so cool? I'm so happy to hear that. And I knew, and that's why I chose you. And I knew you were the perfect person to have on tonight. And I didn't want to say, I'm going to ask you this and this and this, but I knew that you were going to share what you shared, because I can tell and I can feel it with you, and I can feel it with Aram. And all she does is talk about, how much she loves her family. So thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And for all of you, if you're committed to living your passions and fulfilling your purpose, and just remember that the teacher always gains more than the student. That's what I love. I tell all of my facilitators, the best job in the whole world is being able to be a certified trainer, because then you get it. Every time you speak it out, you become more of that. So by helping others discover their passions, what you do is you reinforce the principles in yourself. So, so after a while, you can't do anything that you're not passionate about. I know that's in my life. It's just not possible. And it's particularly valuable if you're a coach or you're a speaker, you're a trainer, you're a consultant. It's just a super powerful addition to your toolkit. And for those of you that would like to learn about our certification program, I put the link here, and it's in chat, so you can go to that link. And yeah, and you can just check it out and see for yourself, because as we've been saying, when you know what others want, when you know what the people in your family want, when you know what your friends want, when you know what your clients' passions are, you can just support them and help them. And in a career, when you know what your clients' passions are, you can design a coaching program for them. And, for speakers, you'll gain a powerful, really super powerful, fun content to present. And why it's fun and why it's so successful out in the world is because it's all about you. Every single exercise, you say a little, and then you put people in an exercise. You say a little more, you put people in an exercise. And so, this course is such a great program for really supporting other people to be able to go out there and live their passion, and for you to be able to not only support them, but to monetize your passions as well. So I really hope that tonight, in this little time we had together, I mean, it just went click, 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 and I knew it would. I hope you gain some knowledge, and that you'll have stories like I do. I remember I have a student named Sabrina Martinez who she became a passion test facilitator, and right off, she was invited to speak in Qatar, and she went to Qatar. One of our facilitators named Prasad lived in Qatar. He invited her to come. He picked her up at the airport. He introduced her at her event. He hosted her, and then she recommended him to do a talk with her. And they just all of a sudden, roaring business started to happen immediately. And what's so great about our certification program is you get to keep 100% of the income that you make from your workshops. So it's really, really a wonderful program for you to enter into and be able to share with others how to get clear on the things that matter most to them. So with that said, I want to thank you all so much for joining me tonight. And may your life be filled with living your passions, and just sending you lots and lots of love. And thank you for spending your valuable time with me. All love to you. Bye, everybody.